are watching Alive and Well. We are down here at Heritage Landing, downtown Muskegon, for a very exciting day for the Diabetes Walk. It's an annual event put on by the Muskegon Community Health Project and Mercy Health Partners. And our special guest star today is Lou Brock of the St. Louis Cardinals, Baseball Hall of Famer, and also dealing with type 2 diabetes. And you're here to tell us today how you live a full and active life with type 2 diabetes. But
that certainly is true. I was diagnosed a few years ago, and knowing as a sports person, when ailment come, you really don't think that they can last a long time or permanent, and that you can beat it. And so I just thought of one of those things. But when I got to the doctor, I had about an 800 sugar level. Ooh. So that was up there.
Yeah,
so that was the beginning.
That's the beginning, and we're going to hear more about that later, but I want to talk about your 19-year illustrious career with the St. Louis Cardinals, and you broke a lot of records. You're known for stealing bases.
Yeah, I did, but that wasn't how I came into the game. I eventually became a base stealer, but you're right, I was fortunate enough to play 19 years with the St. Louis Cardinals. Unfortunately, we played Detroit in the World Series '68, and they got lucky, and but you did right. K-Line would tell you they didn't get lucky, but it was a good series. In as much as it was one of those years that things like that had to happen.
Yeah. Now you did 2 World Series, is that correct?
Actually 3. I had set a few records, and fortunate enough to get into 3. As a player, along the way, you always think next year was coming, right? And sometimes it doesn't. And so, looking back, 3 was a lot.
That is. That's a lot. That's a great career. And every year they still give away the Lou Brock Award. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was fortunate enough to be one of the players, or the only player that ever have an award named after him as he was still a player. And so they call it the Lou Brock Award for the most stolen bases in a year by the National League, and they sort of hand it out every year. My granddaughter loves it. She just thinks that granddad, oh, that's you, granddad, they're talking about. So,
I believe I read in your 19-year career you stole 938 bases. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's
Here's my homework.
okay. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. But that's not close to the record. There was a guy named Henderson who stole about 1,400.
Wow.
But he was over in the other league. When I say that, I'm talking about the American League. But the American League towns, they just said it's Major League Baseball. So we always trying to find a way how to deduce that number.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah,
you still hold it. That's okay. They named it the Lou Brock Award for a reason. That's awesome.
For a reason, but simply because it's a National League record.
Yeah, well, that makes you, let's see, one of the 100 all-best baseball players of all time, right? Is that how they determine for that award to be in that Hall of Fame? It's the 100 best.
Well, I don't know. The 100 best, there's been about 17,000 men to play the game,
sure.
And 100 and something that made the Hall of Fame, and so I've been one of them. I've been chosen as one of the top 100 baseball players of all time. But again, that's subject to voting and all of those
He's humble, but that's wonderful. And we're so fortunate to have you here in Muskegon today to inspire and talk to us. Mimi Rankin from our office has been organizing this event for a number of years now, and it's just a great fundraiser. We get a lot of funds raised to help people in Muskegon County that suffer with diabetes or that fight diabetes. I shouldn't say suffer, because you managed to live a full life without suffering.
Well, that is true, but the fact is that diabetes is on the rise, and perhaps it's not on the rise as much as we're discovering ways and means to detect it early on. It seems, though, in the next few years, there will be 1 out of every 2 people you see will be affected by diabetes. And the fact is that, when you see and hear the word diabetes, you really don't become afraid of it, because from a track record point of view, it itself only a lead-in to complicate things for you to have a lot of problems and could cause death.
Yes, yeah, it can cause a lot of problems. Right. Now, you managed to, I read that you still train with the St. Louis Cardinals. You help an instructor trainer for spring training?
I am a spring training instructor with the Cardinals for the last 14 years. Wow. And so I see around baseball, see young guys who look like my grandkids, and they always ask me, was the ball white when you were a ball player? They ask all kind of questions like that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're also an ordained minister. You and your wife do some work in the St. Louis area?
I do a lot of traveling, talk on behalf of the ministry for the most part, and I see a lot of kids, talk to a lot of kids. They always ask that question, were you good? And we just hope that somewhere along the line, from a spiritual sense, that we can build their spiritual man as well as their soul, mind, and body. And so the four component of life, sometimes we miss that spiritual side of it, and most time we do.
And I know that you've been doing some work. It's so sad, the tornadoes that have hit down in Joplin, Missouri area, and I know that you've been out doing some work with that.
Yeah, that's incredible to see nature in its furies around the world that taking place. And, 1 second you're alive, vibrant city, 2 seconds later you're gone. Yeah. Those are the forces of nature and the strength of nature that we are looking at, and it's incredible.
It is incredible. Well, thank you for all your good work. Thank you for being here today. We'll be filming more with Lou later, and we have some other people we want to talk to today, but it's just such an honor and a pleasure to meet you. Thanks again.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I didn't get the memo. I'm the only person with a tie on out here.
It looks great. We'll get you a T-shirt. Don't worry.
Yes, ma'am. That'll work.
Thank you.
All right.
Here we are at the Diabetes Walk down at Heritage Landing in downtown Muskegon, and this is the gals from Novo Nordisk. And tell me what Novo Nordisk is.
Novo Nordisk is a healthcare company with over 86 years of experience with insulins and helping the communities and the patients who live with diabetes.
Okay, and you ladies, Novo Nordisk sponsored Lou Brock here today. You actually brought him in. And with me I have
Debbie Walters.
Debbie?
Margie Ejak. Leslie Anderson.
Leslie. Margie, Debbie, Leslie. Okay, and so what an exciting thing to bring in Lou Brock. The event is just going to be wonderful today because of this. Can you tell me a little bit about how you planned this and what made you decide to bring in Lou Brock?
Well, I think it started about a year ago. We were involved in the walk last year, and Mimi, who's the head of the Muskegon Community Health Project, we were talking and trying to find a way to get more people involved, and she brought up the idea, and we said, we'll see what we can do. We won't make any promises, and here we are a year later. It was a lot of planning and a lot of hard work, but we're happy to be able to bring him to this community.
That's wonderful. Yes, Mimi Rankin, she heads up she's a diabetes coordinator at the Muskegon Community Health Project, and she does head this up every year. It's been phenomenal. And how fun has it been for you, Leslie?
Well, this is just really nice. I mean, a lot of what our company provides for diabetic patients is education and a lot of community outreach, and this is just a great example of one of the many things that our company has been able to provide. Other than the U.S. government, Novo Nordisk is second in the amount of funding and research that's been put in trying to find a cure for diabetes.
Oh, that is wonderful. So, and you makers of insulin?
Yeah. The world's largest maker
of insulin for diabetes. Wow. Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm glad to see we're going to have a good turnout. It's a beautiful day, a little windy. Going to be a nice walk. It's a 6-mile walk. Lots of money is raised, and our next interview is going to be with somebody that raises a good amount of money every year, Service One Credit Union. So stay with us.